democracy and the rule of law. With me on today's episode is Barrister Obiora Ume, a legal practitioner practicing here in Lagos. Barrister Obiora Ume, welcome you to today's show.
Thank you very much, and good evening, viewers.
And also, Barrister Ajanakola Rewaj will be joining us via Zoom during the course of this program. So we'll move into the nitty-gritty of all right. Barrister Ajanakola Rewaj, we welcome you to today's edition of Democracy and the Rule of Law. Please confirm if you can hear me loud and clear.
I can hear you loud and clear.
All right, we welcome you. So we'll be looking at the issue surrounding the protest that is taking place currently, and also the president's address in response, to the demand of the protesters. Of course, the president has delivered his speech today 7 a.m. today, and of course there has been a lot of commentary concerning the president's speech. Some commentators felt that the president failed to address, the demands of the protesters. Some felt that the president, going by his speech, was out of touch with the reality on ground. As the speech, as some have alluded, lacked the needed empathy, the framework to assuage the demand of the protesters. So probably we'll start from there. So I'm sure you would have paid attention to that speech because it was long anticipated.
Okay, thank you very much. What I say concerning the president's speech is that first, it was somehow belated. Personally, I believe that the president ought to have addressed the nation before today, and that would have gone a long way to prevent what has happened already. We all know that the protest was widely publicized in the country. The protesters informed the government that from the 1st of August there was going to be a protest. Initially it was tagged protest against hunger, and later it metamorphosed into harsh and bad government and governance and so on. Well, we thank God that eventually he has spoken, he has addressed the nation. But like I said, I believe that he ought to have addressed the nation before today. And then when I listened to what he said, he said that he feel the pains of the protesters. He feel the pains of the average Nigerian, and he put himself in their position, and that is asking for patience because they put in place some measures to cushion the effect of what Nigerians are experiencing presently. Well, in my own opinion, what Nigerians are asking for is to have measures that will cushion the effect of the economic hardship on the masses. And we all know that it was on the 29th of May 2023 when the president, on the day of assumption of office, declared that subsidy had gone, and that triggered the increase in fuel pump price and every other thing, including foodstuffs. Everything went up. Now, I believe that the way to go about addressing the current situation, especially as a cause of emergency measures, is to possibly reduce the pump price of fuel and then bring in foodstuffs, rice, beans, and other cereals, so that the price of these things will go down. Because from history, we had many protests in the past. The Aba women riots of 1929, and other protests and riots but none, to my knowledge, has been based on hunger.
Okay, that's Barrister Janaku. I don't know if you are still with us. Yes. So we want to also get your opinion on the president's address this morning. Of course, so many people have expressed misreaction on that speech. Do you think that it addressed the fundamental issues concerning the ongoing protest?
Uh, First and foremost, I want to say this. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello?
I can hear you.
I said by the president and directly to protesters, I would say was still coming at it. I believe, sincerely so, if the president had since there has been this cloud that there will be protests from the 1st to the 10th of August. The issues raised are very clear. As there will be protests of the requirement or the needs of protesters of hunger. When there is hunger, when you the only way that we could assuage anger of the people to ensure that one, there had been no that why has what do I mean? Ensuring that those things turn out bad, bring out food, go to the silos, to well, the president's speech itself, look at it from the beginning and you see anywhere that the needs of hungry nations it's unfortunate that some areas where the government will address, the president didn't address them. Now, let me tell you, the address was just cosmetic in nature. That's where I feel. That's where I see it. Just to say that, well, they wanted to hear from me. I've addressed the populace, but the fundamentals that can assuage the feelings of Nigerians have not been addressed. How they will be addressing eventually was not also stated. I mean, the government, the president should be proactive, should be seen to have the feelings of Nigerians. That has not been felt so far. Me, to so many other Nigerians, the speech is just cosmetic in nature. How the government will go about assuaging their feelings, I don't know.
Okay.
We wait to see how it comes down.
Okay, Barrister Janaku, some have alluded that the president is not in touch with the reality on ground. that perhaps the aides and his appointees are not telling him the truth. I don't know if you can hear me. Yeah, so what do you feel could have been the reason why the speech of the president this morning failed to address the fundamental issues or the demands of the
himself?
protesters?
You see, one thing primarily is this: the basic thing that would be addressed is what we are talking about is hunger in the land. People, if you hold money now, hold 1,000 naira, it essentially buys nothing. People don't have money, and the meeting they can't find the food readily available for them to buy. They are saying, well, yes, we released about 400 trucks of rice. How will those trucks get to? Will they eventually get to the poor people that will need this rice? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? I think, look, people have been crying over time for these governments to listen to. And then people will come to steal the purse of the people around town. I mean, the people in government. They go back not to report precisely what they have found on the streets. They want to tell the government or the president or the people in charge that, well, yes, everything is in order. The rice, the money, finances put in place are getting to the people. When those things are lies, you can see people trooping up in thousands. That's where we are hungry. When one is hungry, there is nothing you can say to the person to pacify him or her for him not to react in any way. You see, you can also see the effects of this, making people go to places where they feel you will go to go, where they will ready food to eat. They are talking about people not being able to eat 3 square meals a day. People now eat once in 2 days. Sometimes we are lucky twice in 3 days. You understand? These things not good enough for the present administration. And we are saying, you see, part of the delays that we are seeing is this. I want to look at the issue of the refinery. We are saying release or make food available to a certain refinery and some other modular refineries for them to be able to refine fuel for us in Nigeria. Though these companies are private entities, they make profits, but when eventually the prices of fuel go down, it will affect so many other things. It's the same. It will affect transportation, it will affect some other things, the cost of production, and so many other things. But these ones will have spiral effects in respect of what eventually happens to the society. But are we listening? Is the government listening? People have spoken over time. Has the government listened to them? What are we talking about? When the people begins to react, immediately complaints by the populace tends to be well.
All right, Barrister Janeku. We'll get back to you in the course of the program. So, Barrister, you've of course heard what Barrister Janeku said. The speech of the president failed to address, as you have also said,
yes.
the fundamental issues.
It was cosmetic and did not address the fundamental issues which the people have raised.
So why do you think that the president fails to address these issues? Is it that the president is not in tune with the reality, or the president is taking the masses for granted? Because obviously the leadership ought to be for the people. Those in government are there, at holding the public, holding the office, in trust for the masses. So the president ought to be listening to the people, especially when they have gone on the street to make their voices heard. And yet, you are saying that the president's speech failed to address the fundamental issue. So what could be the root cause? Because one of the basic tenets of democracy is the people and the government.
Yes, well, all I can say is this, that one might not say with precision or mathematical exactitude what may have been in the mind of the president when he gave his speech. But one can, from experience and what has been going on in the country over time, make a gesture. First, we know that those in power, especially the number one citizen of Nigeria, the president, is surrounded by a lot of people, advisors and aides and so on. And most times, these people don't tell the president the real situation on ground. So most of them will be telling the president, look, you are the best thing that has ever happened to this country, that you are doing very well. In a time we call them sycophants. They play singers because they want to be in the good books of the president. They want to tell him that, look, don't mind the disgruntled people that will say they want to protest. Everything is normal. Everything is going well. Whereas the majority of the people are finding it difficult in view of the economic situation in the country. Like you mentioned, we run a democratic government, a government that is made for the people, a government by the people for the people, which is to say that under any democratic dispensation, the welfare of the masses is the supreme law. And presently, the masses, the people, have come up to say that they are not happy with what is going in the country because there is hunger in the land, that it cannot afford to eat 3 square meals a day. Some cannot even afford to eat 2 square meals. And in a situation like that, I am bound to believe that the president is not getting the right message from the people. And that perhaps may have accounted for the reason why the president did not take the advice of people that have said, address the nation and bring out measures that will cushion the effect of hardship in the land, particularly when it relates to hunger. The saying goes that a hungry man is an angry man.
Yeah, even apart from hunger, there are other demands like the reversal of the fuel subsidy.
Yes.
Because obviously the current president was one of the advocates. Of course, a lot of people have commented that in 2012,
yes,
the government
was part of the protesters.
Not even just part, it was part of the leaders
yes.
of the protests in 2012.
Yes.
When the fuel price, when subsidy was initially removed,
yes.
and the fuel price went up to 140 something, and when they protested, of course, the current president, the then president had to revert back to status quo.
Yes.
So, do you think that shouldn't the president be leading by example, having championed similar protests in the past?
Yes, I agree that since our president is a Democrat and he is one of the champions of the rights of the citizens, and like you pointed out, participated in the protests of 2012, I believe that he should also show quick response to the demands of the Nigerian populace, and one of them is addressing the issue of hunger, economic hardship. The other one is that what really triggered off the whole thing is the comment he made that subsidy had gone, which, like I said earlier, triggered increase in price of food commodities, transportation, other items, name it. And so, to address these issues, the president needs to first address the issue of the price of petroleum products. If the price of oil is reduced, it will go a long way to reduce the price of other things. And then the president also needs to look at the issue of food security. If you ask me, my suggestion is that it should declare emergency in the area of food security. You look at it now that before today, we have had stories of farmers being attacked by supposed herdsmen and driven from their farms, so that even in last year, people were saying that it's most likely that there will be scarcity of food products, at least foods grown in Nigeria by Nigerian farmers, because of the menace of men who attack farmers and disturb them, even destroy their crops.
Right.
And the previous administration did not address that issue very well. I expected the present government to equally address that issue, because food is one of the basic necessities of life.
All right, Barrister Obiorama. Moving away from the president's arrest, I think it's addressed this morning. I think it's also important that we also touch the ongoing protests. You know, what has happened during this protest, in light of the fact that the president, and of course indeed the presidency, is appealing that they should be given more time, you know, for their policies, you know, to take effect, you know, and of course the proposal by the protesters to go on for 10 days or even possibly more if their demands are not met. So what do you think? Maybe we'll get let's get Barrister Janaku on this. Barrister Janaku. Yes. So let us move away a bit from the president's address to go into the nitty-gritty of the protest itself. You know, the protesters have proposed to protest for 10 days non-stop and even go beyond if their demands are not met. So you know, given the fact that the president have addressed the nation, given the fact that the speech by so many failed to hit the nail on its head, especially as regards to the demands of these protesters. So in your own opinion, what do you think? You know, given the fact what has happened, especially in the northern region of the country, where there have been a lot of widespread looting, you know, so some protesters have been killed by security agents, has been reported by the Amnesty International and some other news agencies. So what do you think, you know, should be the way forward from here?
Okay. You see, this is Nigeria. This is my country. It is our country. This is where we are. We cannot leave this country or run out to any other place. We must ensure that the best is done for our country. Right now, everyone, well-meaning Nigerians, are appealing to protesters to stop further protests in respect of this matter that came up. Now, it is quite disheartening to note that this message by the president has not been able to pacify protesters in any way. You're asking protesters to give you more time. You're asking Nigerians in all, generality of the nation, to give you more time to show what you can do, that you're actually working. How will the people believe you now? You have been silent over time. The people you have appointed have been silent over time. They have not been engaging the populace. They've been quiet. They've been telling lies to the people, to the president, saying all things are well. You see, if the feelers we are getting, or the feelers from the people, are not touched to pacify them, you will still see that up till this morning, the anger is whelming the more in the people. You see, there is no security in any form. People are not saying, or if you have been able to ensure security even for farmers, they will be able to go to farm, cultivate the land, bring produce up to the town for people to be able to buy. We'll be able to feed ourselves. But there is issue of insecurity even in the farmlands. People are running away from the farmlands. The little food we can get are those ones who even have to pay bandits to be able to farm. And those food get to the market at exorbitant rates. It has a multiplier effect. When, one, there's insecurity, when they also have to pay for their lives to be alive, to farm, and then they are able to now, you know, uh, bring up what they have in their farmlands to the town. They will have added money paid to bandits, money paid for security and all that to the foodstuffs that they are bringing to the markets. That's on one side. The protesters that are still ongoing up to this morning, what one will only do is to appeal to them to sheet their swords for now. There have been lootings here and there, yes, and there have been killings here and there, not necessarily by Amnesty International. We saw armless people shot. We saw videos of them shot during this protest. We will only appeal to the government that the police that we have now should step up their policing act, should step up the way and manner they try to quell protests. Each person has a right to protest. It is not at the detriment of any other person. They necessarily don't even have to get permits. They only requested for protection, even of the police. The police that have been asked to protect them are no longer protecting them, than hounding and maiming them. This is not right. You see, we saw some pictures, some videos, even in Abuja, where people who were protesting, without instruments, without any arm whatsoever, tear gas were fired at them. Is that nice? Is that all right in this country? I pray that the government and the president will direct and see to it and have people of integrity to follow up the programs that he has for this nation. The people at the helm of affairs now are not working. They are just taking his money. They are not working. The president, if only he could come out, disguise, feel the impulse in the country, feel the impulse of the people, mingle with people, get some people that you can trust, some aides that you can trust, go around the country and getting feedbacks from what they have assessed that is actually wrong with our people. Our people are hungry. That's first and foremost. They are also saying that the money being spent to maintain the government is quite exorbitant. It's on the high side. Please scale down the amount of money and your expenditure on maintaining the government. If these ones are done, I believe, the people will see that indeed this government has listening ears. This government is taking steps in response to the agitations of the people to quell this protest and to bring down their anger. That's what I feel.
Protest should be, shared for now to allow the government. But then the protesters would want to ask, well, on what basis should the protests be suspended? Given the fact that some of these issues were not addressed by the government, because that is what so many people are asking on the streets. On what basis should the protesters suspend the ongoing protests, given the fact that nothing has been addressed so far, no concession has been made?
On what basis
should the protests be suspended, given the fact that no concession has been made by the government? On what basis should the protests be suspended? I don't know if you can hear
me. Okay, yes, I can hear you now. You see, we're all human beings. There are ways you can talk to people will listen to you. And there are other ways you talk to people and people will not listen. will think, well, yes, oh, this person is heady, this person is adamant. He has actually said nothing. Please look at that the speech. What can you find in the speech that will assuage the feelings of the people now? Well, yes, we are all appealing to them. We can also appeal, but as the way it is currently, you will see that the tempo in certain states has reduced. People are afraid to come out on the first, on the second, on the third. But by today, you'll see that people are getting freer to go out to do things. You understand? But the protest is still ongoing. We are only saying, government, we have people in government, and we believe if only the president will assess programs like this, to have it, where the feelings of the people will be stated clearly, and the people in government will tell the truth to the president that we pray this matter protest does not escalate beyond this point. First, come out with tangible solutions. What do you do in the now to ensure that people's feelings are assuaged? And what you can do, flood the markets with food. You have reserves, flood the market with food now. Then to also show that you are ready to cut down in the number of people or ministers in this government, you can merge ministries. You can merge them and reduce the cost of running. Beg your pardon. It's unfortunate I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you. But unfortunately, all of this has not been done. So, but let's move away from that.
What I'm saying that if the people do not see all these things being done, and realistically being done, and holistically being done, the tension will still remain. I pray that these things should not go beyond tomorrow. Tomorrow will be number 5. It should not go beyond tomorrow. Let people begin to pipe down a little bit, please, for the sake of the country called Nigeria. If it goes, if elements, unethical elements begin to infiltrate and begin to do havoc to what we have on ground, this will not be good for anybody.
All right, thank you very much, Barrister Jeleku. So, Barrister Obiorome, of course, we've heard suggestions of things that the government, that low-hanging fruit that the government things that they could at least do at the immediate to assuage, the demands of Nigeria. And of course, unfortunately, these things was not captured in that
the president's address.
Yes, in that speech today. It's quite unfortunate. But let us even move away from the speech. Let us look at the conduct of the security agencies during this protest. Of course, we've seen in some states, of course, the protests have largely been peaceful in some states, while in some other places it has been very, very violent.
That's correct.
With a lot of killings and all of that, alleged killings by security agencies. So what's your makeup, especially given the fact that we are in a democracy, and of course, and the right of people to protest is sacrosanct?
Well, you see, the issue of the killings appears to be controversial in the sense that Amnesty International came up to say that some people have been shot by security agencies and killed. The Nigerian police simply reacted to that report by claiming that the Nigerian security agencies did not kill anybody, that the killings were carried out by some people. First, that someone drove into a crowd with explosive, which killed 2 persons when it's exploded, and then that some people that could be termed criminal elements that joined the protest went about looting, and a local vigilante fired and killed one of the looters, and that the report from the Amnesty International is not correct. That's what the police is saying, and that the police has done very well in the course of the protest. I believe that at the end of the day, we will know the whole truth. But what I saw on videos going around as far as the Federal Capital Territory is concerned is that I saw where police officers were using tear gas to disperse protesters at the Moshood Abiola Stadium in Abuja. That I saw on video going around. And you discover also that one thing is agreed to by virtually everyone. And what is that? That there's a right of people, not just Nigerians, but people over the world to protest. And when they're carrying out peaceful protests, there are not supposed to be any harassment, intimidation, oppression, or any form of influence by security agencies. Now, we saw at the eve of the commencement of the protest that some courts came up with orders, which had the effect of restricting the protesters to some locations. For example, in Lagos, some locations were identified as the places the protesters must confine themselves to. In Abuja and some other places. Well, what agitated my mind initially was that so long as a protest is peaceful, what is the basis of using an order of courts to regulate the conduct of the protesters? And the another thing that also agitated my mind is when these orders were made, they were made ex parte. Who are the defendants?
Unknown persons.
And an order of court, as we know it, is meant to bind the parties to the case. And if you are saying that the order is against unknown persons, how do you enforce such order? Understand? I believe that our own brand of democracy will not be a hybrid. It must conform with the conventional democracy that is known the world over. And that is a democracy that promotes rule of law, due process, and constitutionalism. The law gives rights to people who are not satisfied with the state of affairs to express their feelings through peaceful protests. Now, the angle of getting courts to confine them to areas, is another dimension to it, which we need to look into the, what makes the court do not have parameters for protesters. Are we envisaging a situation where maybe in future there could be a court order telling people to protest in their houses? And is that not a derogation from the right to protest? What protesters are enjoined to do is to protest peacefully. So long as the protest is peaceful, I don't see any reason why the protesters should be confined to a particular place. That is already, the orders already there. I'm not sure anybody has gone to court to challenge those orders.
We'll go on a very short break. When we'll come back, we'll get Barrister Janaku's opinion on this court orders, because we have also on this show severally, talked about the role of judiciary in sustenance of democracy. So we'll look at that when we return from this break. Stay tuned, we'll be back very shortly. Welcome back. If you are just joining us, you are on to your favorite program, Democracy and the Rule of Law. Barrister Janeko, I don't know if you are still with us. Wanted to get your opinion. Hello, Barrister Janeko. Okay. So, can you hear me, sir? Okay, so we wanted to get your opinion on the issue of course, in several in this show, we have talked about the role of judiciary in sustenance of democracy. And unfortunately, we saw a lot of court orders during, the course of these protests, restricting protesters, from protesting in certain places and limiting them to some certain location, which so many legal commentators have said that it is against the rules, undemocratic, against the rule of law. And most, interestingly, is that those orders were gotten against unknown persons. And people have said that an order cannot be enforced against unknown persons, that the protesters are known, and getting an order against unknown persons, it is unenforceable. So what do you have to say concerning, the role of the judiciary also in this protest, given the fact that they are also one of the strong pillars of any democracy in the world?
Thank you very much. When we have players in the judiciary, I'm talking about where you have people like the attorney generals of states going to courts at the eve of a protest. Name some people, 1, 2, 3, 4, and leave others as unnamed. And you want those unnamed that you have stated as unknown to be all other protesters. I don't know, when it is not a land matter, how the order would have been carried out. Number one, the orders, the people named in the matter before the courts and in the order gotten from the courts, please tell me, were they served before they proceeded to protest on the first? Were they served?
So, Barrister Obiora, of course, well, Lord Barrister Janeko, unfortunately, we couldn't get all his opinion on that point because of the issue of network.
Yeah.
So he has said that, of course, that order is against nobody, but I wanted to get his opinion on the role of the judiciary in all of this and what role they should be playing, in enforcing, because they are quite, a critical component of
yes. The judiciary is an arm that is supposed to promote democracy
and uphold the law.
And uphold the law of the land,
yes.
Rule of law, the constitution, and so on. And it will be a sad day when Nigerians will lose confidence in the judicial system. May that day never come. And you see, we know that a court of law cannot make an order in vain. And an order would have been made in vain if there is no mechanism for the enforcement of that order. For example, some courts, gave orders restricting on persons that are said to be unknown persons from going outside specified locations in the course of the protest. Then, let's assume that the people that are protesting went beyond the locations. How can that order be served? How can it be enforced? What is the mechanism? Of course, we know that if there is a clear order against named parties and there is a clear violation of the services of that order, the proper thing to do is to go ahead and issue what is called Form 48. You serve on the parties concerned, especially the parties that are not complying with that order. You serve on the party concerned notice of the consequences of disobedience of court order, which is usually called Form 48. And after 48 hours, you proceed with unfortunate, which is committal proceedings. In this instant case, how can such be done? That's hardly a way. You understand? And again, it is not proper for our courts to come up to go about attempting to gag rights that inure to Nigerian citizens. The right to protest is codified in our laws and other international laws to which Nigeria is a signatory. And then, when these laws are there, and the courts are coming to say, well, we don't say you do not protest, but just stay in the particular location and do it. Is that not indirectly eroding the rights? And of course, we know that Nigeria is listening to a lot of international instruments on the rights of Nigerian citizens.
All right, Professor, we're almost out of time. We've informed that we have less than a minute to wrap up today's edition. I don't know if we can put up our session. I feel let's get his final words before we call it a day on this edition.
Well, while we try to reach him, my final take on it is that the government must live up to its expectation, to the expectation of the Nigerian masses, because one, the welfare of the people is the main reason that government is put in place. Now, where people are no longer getting enough food to eat, their welfare is being compromised. Government must address that issue as a matter of urgency. Secondly, security of lives and properties comes in handy. President Nigeria will be witnessing over time the issue of kidnappings and terrorism and all that. And these things are things that virtually every day you hear about them in the news, in the newspapers. Government must go extra mile if need be to ensure that this terrorism and this security in the nation is nipped in the bud. And finally, the government is put in place to advance the cause of the people so that they can develop their potentials. These things are things that need to be addressed and as quickly as possible.
All right, thank you, Barrister Obiorome, for your insightful analysis on this show this evening. We thank you for obliging us your presence. We also want to thank Barrister Ajana Kola. We couldn't get his final word because as a result of network. And this is where we draw the curtain on today's edition on democracy and the rule of law.